If you were laughing about a man being murked on the sidewalk outside of his 5-star hotel, DM me. We have the same sense of humor.
Oh, do you think he's already looking up at us? You think this happened in or out of network? My insurance doesn't cover empathy.
I hope he doesn't get away. Oh, get that guy. Oh, no.
He killed people's grandparents for money.
People's reaction to the CEO of United Healthcare being gunned down in broad daylight, that lack of empathy that people are giving him, that's what happens when you dehumanize others. Eventually, you dehumanize yourself.
So unless you've been under a rock for the past 72 hours, Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, was recently taken out by a man with a silencer on a sidewalk in Manhattan. He was on his way to an important shareholder meeting when the attack occurred. The wildest thing about the situation isn't the blacklist or B613 style efficiency of the attacker, which was like something out of a movie, but the fact that the United Healthcare CEO was dead by 6:45 a.m. and not 1 hour later the interweb was already aflame, completely losing what little couth it had left.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah.
Has America's empathy gone MIA? Or is this just another symptom of late-stage capitalism? In this video, we're diving into some of the wildfire reactions on social media and unpacking how they connect to the lid finally blowing off the pressure cooker that is America. Let's get into it.
You are the CEO of a healthcare company that is as successful as companies like Amazon and Walmart. Thoughts and prayers, but actually I submitted them and they were denied and they were actually out of network. So good luck with that.
This person commented, thoughts on denied coverage. It's not really an urgent manhunt. It needs to go to claims first. That's a 3 to 4 week processing time. And I really thought that this blue sky conversation really nailed the heart of the issue. This person says, I'm a very empathetic person, but these people who just take and never see justice is infuriating. I honestly don't understand my anger right now, but it is real. And Leftoid Supreme comments, the anger you're feeling is because you know that this man was a murderer. He had final say over life or death for millions of people and chose death in 32% of cases for shareholder profits. You are justified and righteous in your anger. Getting paid when you kill people normally makes someone a hitman. And the first poster responds, I think the gun debate too. We can't talk about banning assault rifles when children are getting slaughtered, but a CEO getting murdered? We can't have that in polite society.
Someone commented yesterday on another video saying that this guy basically during his tenure as CEO has essentially killed more people than any American serial killer ever has. And they're right. There is a distinction unfortunately made when you're doing it in an industrial, hyper-capitalist, even militarized setting where it is okay to kill as many people as possible, especially if money is your bottom line. Even the media framing up his death as an assassination and framing up his killer as a hitman, when, again, there's no real distinction between the two of them. By definition, a hitman's being paid to kill someone, and Mr. Brian Thompson was being paid and incentivized into the millions of dollars to kill lots of people. Deny their claims, make their healthcare unaffordable. We do eventually need to figure out a new word for healthcare because there is no care involved, and put a dollar amount on their access to life-saving care. It sounds like the same thing, in my opinion. The thing different for Brian this year is that he wasn't able to go gloat to his shareholders and investors and tell them about how much money the aforementioned was going to make them because he got murked before he can do that.
And the internet is not letting up.
You know how much hate you gotta have in your heart to off somebody at 7 o'clock in the morning? That was somebody's grandchild. I don't know this for a fact, but I believe it that somebody's granny passed because that insurance company denied her whatever medications or procedure that she needed, and somebody's grandchild avenged her passing. 7 o'clock in the morning. Thoughts, prayers.
I'm no cop, thank Jesus. But that person who gunned down the CEO, they were definitely insured by United for sure. And I make that assumption based on one thing, and that's the fact that the pistol jammed, they unjammed it and continued in broad daylight in Manhattan. Baby, they hated that guy. They hated that guy.
I've never seen somebody whose ops is the entire general population of the United States and then also the top 1%. How do you make everybody upset? And then to have your investors not even move their meeting by like 5 minutes after you get assassinated right in front of the building they're holding that meeting.
You heard right, the shareholder meeting did go on without him. And the police were able to block off the scene, but since the meeting went ahead, people were still having to walk around to get in there on time. Could you imagine if there was a hit on one of your coworkers and your boss still made you go to work? But what else is to expect from a company that puts profits over lives? They don't even care about their people running the show. They obviously aren't going to care about people in general. And that's part of why we're seeing this reaction from the public. Because a lot of people don't care. They don't care if he had kids. They don't even care that it's close to Christmas, which is something that can usually pull on people's heartstrings. They even tracked down Thompson's wife, and even her response wasn't as planned.
Wife of slain health insurance CEO Brian Thompson said her husband had been getting threats beforehand. There had been some threats. She told NBC News in her first comments, basically, I don't know, a lack of coverage. Money can't buy you love, happiness, and support. It can't do that for you. Imagine your wife is being spoken to after you get absolutely domed in broad daylight in downtown Manhattan. And the best she can do is make a joke about what you've been doing, robbing people of their lives for money.
So not only did the meeting continue, but the company's stock went up shortly after. And speaking of business per usual, Rockefeller's annual tree lighting ceremony, which was supposed to take place later that day, had people concerned the incident would postpone the celebrations, which the NYPD also addressed in a press conference.
This incident will not affect the tree lighting. The tree lighting is slated to start at 7 p.m.
Sounds good. Like, I actually don't care at all about that. I hate Christmas, but that does sound good.
I saw an anchor talking about the CEO of United Healthcare being murdered and was like, no one knows the motivations. I can guess. I don't think you need Sherlock for this one. I think it's pretty. I think the motivations are easy to find.
The death of Brian Thompson has made headlines, but the story beneath those headlines deserves just as much attention. United Healthcare has a long and troubling history of denying care, whether it's birth control, heart surgery, mental health treatment, or life-saving medications, leaving many without the care they desperately need. In Minnesota, the company was fined $450,000 for making it harder for customers to get reimbursed for mental health care. They imposed tighter restrictions on mental health medications, further complicating access to necessary treatments. Worse yet, United Healthcare failed to maintain accurate provider lists and neglected to inform customers of their right to appeal denied claims. In New York, the company was fined $1 million for refusing to cover birth control, violating state law. A Brooklyn woman's complaint revealed that she was forced to try alternative treatments or seek prior approval for her birth control, directly contradicting legal protections. Then there's the story of John Cupp, an Ohio man who began experiencing severe heart problems in 2021. His doctor recommended a critical procedure to check for blocked arteries, but United Healthcare denied it, claiming it wasn't medically necessary. This left Cupp in a dangerous situation, emblematic of how the company's profit-driven model can endanger lives. According to ProPublica, this is part of a larger pattern. In 2016, the government uncovered United Healthcare's secret use of algorithms to limit mental health treatment, targeting providers who offered extensive therapy and cutting off reimbursement of patients receiving too many treatments. By 2021, this practice was deemed illegal in 3 states, yet the company continues to impose limits on care, restricting access to essential mental health services. The impact in Q2 of 2024, United Healthcare reported staggering profits of $7.9 billion, a business model built on collecting premiums and public funds while denying or delaying care. And as United reaps billions in profits, countless Americans pay the price with their health, well-being, and, in some cases, their lives.
United Healthcare is number 4 on the Fortune 500 list. That's the list of the highest revenue-generating companies in the United States. A healthcare company whose job is supposedly to save lives, in the most wealthy country in the world, has made it to the number 4 spot of highest revenue generating companies. How many lives did it take to get there? How many lives were lost, or even not lost, but are miserable because the money that could have helped them went to investors instead?
He made $10 million and had 72,000 shares in the company's stock. And he purposefully used bad AI to deny elderly people life-saving health care in order to drive the price of the stock up and enrich himself. He killed people's grandparents for money.
Today, new photos of the suspect became public, and the reactions have been just a little bit different than in the past, so let's take a peek at some of their thoughts.
Okay, so more pictures have been released. He is a man, and he is a beautiful man, which makes this 10 times funnier and iconic. I cannot, like, that smile. What the is going on?
So they just dropped a pic of the man who pew-pewed the CEO of United Healthcare. And all truth, no J-Lo, like, why he kind of...
He's so cute. I can't give him up. I'm not gonna give him up.
Smash. Susie. Wait, what was the game?
Special pus.
Y'all, I don't even have the words. The last 24 hours on the internet have been a wild ride. The NYPD have also held several press conferences, and their commentary is also going viral.
I think the police are in love with the unaliver of the CEO of United Healthcare. Because the way they're talking about him is like, wow, game recognized game. I see what you did what? Like, you see the proficiency of how he reloaded the gun when the gun jammed? This guy is proficient with weapons. He's a weapons master. He got away on a city bike, smooth on out of there. This guy is amazing. They wouldn't know about unaliving people. Yeah, they wouldn't know. Especially about unaliving unarmed people.
Ladies and gentlemen, what happened today was an absolute tragedy. Thoughts and prayers go out to the family. Did you guys see the way he cleared that gun, though? It's a bad man. See his stance? We need him.
They're sitting here posting his mugshot like we're finna snitch.
Personally, I don't think that 20 minutes of action should ruin the rest of a promising young man's life.
One of the main things cultural critics have been saying in regards to the lack of empathy towards the CEO and the wealthy in general is that it's a turning point that has been a long time coming, in America at least.
So if you haven't heard already, the United Healthcare CEO has just been assassinated. And I can't really say I'm surprised, nor do I care. And some people are going to be like, oh, that's cruel, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care. The reason I don't care is because these people are running billion and trillion dollar companies. And an insurance company at that I'm pretty sure has declined coverage for thousands of people. And there are thousands of people out here that have lost family members because United Healthcare declined much needed coverage for their loved ones. So the amount of blood that these billion and trillion dollar companies have on their hands is nothing compared to the fact that this man just lost his life today. And it's sad to say, but with the state of not only this country, but the world, this will become the norm if this is not the catalyst and the tipping point right now. Because if these billion and trillion dollar companies think they can continue to lobby against the best interests of American citizens and make things more expensive and continue to treat their workers and their consumers like shit and nothing will happen, they're going to continue to fuck around and find out. And for anybody that really has any sympathy for these oligarchs, you need to do some self-reflection, bro. Because these fucking oligarchs are the same individuals, regardless of the company, that are contributing to the problems within the Congo, contributing to the problems that we have here in America when it comes to lobbying. These are the individuals that are the root of all of our problems. I'm not saying I advocate for things like this or at all, but if shit don't change quick, this is going to be a consistent norm within our society.
Oppressed people are going to react when they feel like the government does not have their best interest in mind. History has already shown us that. Y'all gotta realize that when people feel like they have nothing left to lose and they feel like the world is against them, they are going to react. Y'all don't know. The person who did this could have a terminal illness and could have been denied treatment by United Healthcare. And maybe it wasn't the CEO directly, but I'm sure that they wanted to make a statement. And as we continue to see the president-elect say things that is gaslighting, like he wants someone like Dr. Oz to control how much is being spent on medical care, and wants to remove people from having medical insurance, you will continue to see people respond this way. This is no different than how people responded in 2020 after what happened to George Floyd. People were burning down their own cities and rioting. Why? Because they felt like they had nothing left to live for. Y'all gonna realize y'all have to stop doing that to people.
Speaking of statements, the suspected gunman did leave some behind.
Deny, defend, and depose was engraved in the bullets that got the CEO of a major healthcare company up out of here. I'm not advocating for any violence. I'm not advocating for anything. I'm just stating what I know to be true based on history. A tired people can be a dangerous people.
Many are also claiming that the shooter's message is referring to the book Delay, Deny, Defend by author J.M. Feynman, which is focused on how insurance companies scam America. You cannot tell me that CEOs all across the country are not working on their bunkers in overtime. They're probably thinking, maybe we should have just kept the DEI.
You know, when you go to a company website and they've got like About Us and it shows all the leaders and everything, United Healthcare has taken all of theirs down. It says page not found. Go look at their leadership. COO, CEO, gone.
Another unfortunate event that happened on the same day as Thompson's demise was healthcare provider Blue Cross Blue Shield's public announcement that it would be capping anesthesia coverage after a certain time frame, which means that if your surgery goes longer than expected, you would have to pay for the anesthesia out of pocket, or perhaps go without. Well, perhaps after certain events happened and widespread condemnation, Blue Cross Blue Shield backtracked in less than 24 hours.
On the same day
that United Healthcare CEO gets off in the street, Blue Cross Blue Shield put out that they were going to start charging you for anesthesia if you go over their set time limit during your surgery. And then the CEO gets killed. And they're like, just kidding, guys. Who sent out that message? We can't wait to give you as much anesthesia as you need.
The ruling class is committing mass violence, is directly responsible for countless millions upon millions of people's deaths, is exploiting 95% of the human population, and is directly responsible for creating the social and economic conditions that make life so insufferable for humanity, while destroying our planet to the point of threatening our literal planetary survival. And they're able to do this because they have developed an entire political, economic, legal, and media system that shields them from any repercussions of their actions. They have created an entire environment where they think they are untouchable and they can act with impunity. We live in completely different worlds than CEOs and the ruling class because they have built it that way. They have built it as a buffer between them and those they exploit because they actually do fear us. That's why they have bunkers. That's why that they have had to go through the effort of creating an entire system of protection that creates an illusion of their power. And every once in a while, that illusion is broken. And that scares the living shit out of them, which is why the media and law enforcement agencies and everyone is devoting all of these resources to focusing on what happened to the United Healthcare CEO when thousands of missing and murdered indigenous people don't get literally like 0.1% of the resources devoted to them versus what's happening to the CEO, because the entire ruling class is now terrified.
No, I don't know about that for certain, but it does feel like something's in the air.
Thought I saw the shooter yesterday who unalived the CEO. But then I remembered my vision insurance was denied last year. So it turns out I saw nothing.
And this pretty much echoes the overall sentiment that I'm seeing online.
If they ever catch the guy who popped that man in New York today, because I'm really hoping that they don't, but if they do catch him, to the folks who end up on the jury for that trial, make sure that man goes home. Make sure that man goes home to his family, because it couldn't be me. If I lived in New York, they caught the man that popped that CEO, and I got chosen to be on the jury for that trial. We get into the room at the end, closing arguments. It's time to vote. Not guilty. Not guilty. And you can scream and you can cuss and you can holler, you can yell and you can cry. Not guilty. I'm not sending that man to prison.
Even if people knew and they saw him and they're like, it looks like him, nobody's gonna report him. That's one. But in the off chance, in the crazy possibility that they did catch him, because I think that dude knew what he was doing. But let's say that they did catch him. Who's gonna convict him? Who's going to convict him? What 12 people, jury of his peers, especially in New York, what 12 people are going to sit down in a courtroom, in a jury deliberation room, going to look at each other and be like, yeah, we should send him to prison forever. What 12 people are going to sit down and put that man inside a jail cell? You think you can get 12 New Yorkers who have probably been denied health care many times in the past by United Healthcare? You think 12 people are going to put that money on you? No. They put a bounty on him for $10,000, and the average deductible for maximizing your healthcare is like $4,000. I think you'll be fine.
Outrage here lies in the stark hypocrisy. A CEO who's caused harm to millions is receiving sympathetic media coverage and numerous city resources to catch his killer, while victims of marginalized communities are consistently dehumanized, with their murders left unsolved. The contrast is glaring. You see it in how the media portrays the masked gunman, blurs the footage of what happened to Thompson, and shields his image, yet routinely broadcasts unfiltered graphic violence against Black victims to desensitize and dehumanize. And for once, the elite seeing the murder of one of their own dehumanized in such a way is the first time they've had a taste of the treatment of the working class, and they don't like it. Even women are speaking out about this, calling attention to the blatant double standards at play here and society as a whole.
He was shot just walking into work? That is terrible. Well, what was he wearing? Because, you know, if you're wearing a flashy suit and a Rolex, people are going to get ideas. You know, I tell all my CEO friends to always wear a bulletproof vest around. If he had, you know, followed that advice, he would probably be okay right now. Obviously, a murder's never okay, but, you know, when you have a job like CEO, you just know, like, people are going to think lower of you, so they're not really going to value you. So he probably shouldn't have gone into that. Like, it's a dangerous field. Well, the shooter is clearly just passionate about this topic. I don't think we need to vilify him. He has a really bright future ahead of him. It's one mistake that he made. I'm not saying it was his fault, but if you're going to walk around like that, he really should have hired security. You know, in this day and age, you have to plan for your own safety. If he had had his security with him, he probably would have been fine. No, he could definitely afford security. It kind of looked like in the video he was maybe looking at his phone or something. You have to be really alert when you're walking around. You should always be alert of your surroundings.
Now, guys, everyone isn't celebrating what happened to this CEO. Ingrid Zaquez, I'm not going to take the time to know her last name. It's not important. But apparently she published an opinion in USA Today saying no one should celebrate United Healthcare CEO's murder. Where's our humanity? And she highlights how he was just a husband and father who was doing his job. I haven't really seen that many other opinions like this, but I'm sure if you flip over to Fox News, you could probably find some.
Ironic thing is that people see this as a cold and inhumane response, but have laughed at or praised that the CEO was pew-pew down. A lot of you are struggling to hold on to your humanity. Let me tell you something. If we were under chattel slavery, y'all would scare the hell out of me, because as someone who's a great-grandchild of a formerly enslaved person, if you looked at me, if I was back then, and told me that I have to have empathy for my enslaver because they passed away, we would have some major problems. If you look at somebody who is Jewish and told them that they have to feel sorry when an Atsine passes away, there would be some major problems. Like, y'all scare me. Sometimes humanizing people is recognizing when they do horrible things for other human beings. And it's okay to be glad that the threat that is causing harm to other human beings is eliminated. This goes back to upholding white supremacy and how white supremacy has so many self-protective mechanisms. And it's people like you who uphold that shit because you want people to feel bad when people who are literally putting their boots on our backs meet their demise.
And for my nerds who have an easier time contextualizing real life using fictional examples,
I just want to point out that Emperor Palpatine, who was just killed by rebels on the Death Star, was a real person with a family, feelings, and friends. And your jokes about his demise, they're despicable.
and this is why critics asking where's the sympathy are being met with hostility. Because asking people who have been personally and routinely victimized by General Palpatine for sympathy is kind of crazy work when you think about it. And this behavior also aligns with the main tenets of colonial psychosis disorder. In this example, obviously we have power hoarding, and this is also a really good example of fear of open conflict. This can be especially seen due to CEOs now ramping up their security and Blue Cross Blue Shield immediately backtracking on its anesthesia caps. And for me, the most insidious, the right to comfort. And you can especially see this in how the news is trying to make everyone kind of fear the masked gunman, saying he's running around New York, nobody knows who his next target's going to be, and New Yorkers are not expressing that they're scared in any sense, really. And now the elite seem to be scrambling because it's just a reality of life that if you cause someone harm, that harm may come back at you. Majority of the time, if you live your life without screwing over a lot of people, you're fine. But that gets back to the crux of the issue with billionaires, doesn't it? Because it's virtually impossible to amass that amount of wealth ethically. They thrive in an economic system that perpetuates harm by underpaying labor, damaging the environment, and prioritizing profit over people's basic needs. Immense wealth is typically built off the backs of others, which is probably why many of the elite have bunkers. People forget that our laws are written in blood, and it's not only our blood. A lot of the reasons why people allowed unions and they wrote certain laws the way they did was because back in the day, if workers were being treated unfairly, they would go to these leaders' homes and bring out their entire families in retribution for their greed and carelessness with other people's lives. People who commit acts of violence with their greed on society do not deserve to be comfortable, and they sure as hell don't deserve to be lauded. Now, after the whole billionaire submarine explosion and now what happened with the CEO, maybe the elites will think about this the next time they decide to make another money grab that strips us of even more of our humanity.
If I can reference the good Reverend Doctor for a second, it reminds me of him talking about white moderates' obsession with negative peace over positive peace, and negative peace being the absence of tension and positive peace being the presence of justice. So if tens of thousands of Americans are dying sort of quietly behind closed doors, there's a certain kind of peace there because society can continue on without tension. But someone getting shot on the sidewalk, well, that's certainly not the absence of tension, but to my eyes, looked a lot like the presence of justice.
Something highly unexpected has come out of this.
Guys, whoa. Did we just agree on something?
And that is how the situation has drastically amplified class solidarity, which after the contentious U.S. election in November, I can honestly say was not on my 2024 bingo card. Because no matter if you voted for Trump or Harris, a lot of people are agreeing that insurance agencies are some of the most predatory companies out there. People pay into them their entire adult lives, and then they turn around and deny 32% of claims that could have been for life-saving care. That probably resulted in people like the suspect's loved ones or family members passing away unnecessarily, just so companies can line their pockets. This situation has made a lot of people wake up and realize that a for-profit privatized healthcare system is not in the best interest of the people it pretends to serve.
We're so close to class consciousness, guys. Like, oh my God. Guys, whoa. Did we just agree on something? Guys, we're so close. We're so close, okay? I need the workers of the world to unite because, guys, we have one common enemy, and that's the 1%. So I need you guys to just, like, get it together, okay? We're almost there!
I wonder how concerned the government is that white disenfranchised people are possibly learning to redirect their violence towards their oppressors instead of towards, us. They have to be concerned, right? Politicians and billionaires have to be on the lookout instead of black children. What is that? It has never been a secret that if disenfranchised white people actually stood with the people that they've been convinced to keep oppressed for the last several centuries, there would be immediate change. And I'm not going to pretend like this is a widespread lesson, but clearly some people are doing their homework. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So is there a little bit of hope? Are the white people waking up? Time will tell, I guess.
Under some stories that are trying to humanize Thompson, a lot of people are talking about their personal issues with United Healthcare. This person says they refused to cover my IUD despite the fact that I called twice beforehand to confirm if the specific IUD I received would be covered, and both times I was assured it would be. This person says my small family of 3 pays over $1,500 a month to UHC for insurance. That's $18,000 a year, plus a copay every time we go to the doctor. I can't see anything, won't load. Basically another person saying why they won't turn this guy in if they had the chance.
I remember the time I had to take United Healthcare to court because they didn't see the medical necessity of my 2 children who have a rare neuromuscular disorder to get customized wheelchairs. I couldn't understand for the life of me why the opinion of the doctor at United Healthcare superseded the opinion of the doctors who have been seeing my sons for so many years. My son doesn't have either one of his thumbs and he has a half of an index finger, and the doctor at United Healthcare said he didn't see the medical necessity of my son having a customized hand controller to control the wheelchair. United Healthcare's recommendation was for my son to have the little knob that you control the wheelchair with that you need your index finger and thumb to control. You don't even have to be a doctor or a lawyer to understand that that doesn't make any sense. You get one wheelchair every 5 years. So my son's doctor was trying to make recommendations for the wheelchair that would help them as their condition progresses over the next 5 years. And the guy at United Healthcare said, well, we can't look into the future. We have to give them a wheelchair for what's going on right now. But if we only focus on what's going on right now, how is that going to help them in the next few years when you only get one wheelchair every 5 years? It took almost 2 years of going back and forth and appealing and going back and forth to court with United Healthcare before my children got a wheelchair. Thankfully, someone donated a chair to me that I had to use for both of my boys. It was a long fight, but I'm so glad that it was a judge that took the time to look through all of the evidence and see why my sons needed that customized chair for their medical condition.
Hearing that the United Healthcare CEO shooter was a professional assassin, like it was a professional hit, and people are like, oh, probably wasn't a disgruntled client or whatever. I want you to think about something for a second, okay? United Healthcare is the 4th largest company in the United States, representing billions upon billions upon billions of dollars. And one of its largest contractors is the United States government because they have Medicaid and Medicare contracts. They represent what, like 15 to 19% of the US population in terms of the people that are under a United Healthcare plan in one way or another. People are saying that this is a professional killer, shooter, what have you. We're not in disagreement. We're not in disagreement. I just want you to think a little bit further. When that many people have the potential to be disgruntled, have the potential to be angry over their treatment by healthcare companies, who's to say? Who's to say that somebody with United Healthcare would not have that skill set? We don't know. I mean, if you piss off that many people, because remember, United Healthcare was using AI to deny claims with a 90% failure rate. It was inaccurate 90% of the time. People were denied claims that very easily should have been covered. Not to mention that just because one person is on one plan does not mean that a family member wouldn't be on a United Healthcare plan. So it may not have impacted them personally, but somebody else in their life. Again, when you piss off that many people, millions upon millions upon millions of people, you don't know what kind of skill sets they have.
We pay $1,000 a month for a healthcare policy that has a $10,000 deductible. My empathy only extends so far. We've been trying to tell you that for-profit healthcare kills. Y'all just haven't been paying attention because it only kills poor people. Until now. Nobody deserves to get on their way to work. Nobody deserves to get their healthcare claims denied either. Be mindful of how this story is covered. Be mindful of how people are expecting us to have empathy for a man that's worth $40 million, is the head of a company that made $6 billion in profit. And the reason they made $6 billion in profit is because they deny 30% of their fucking healthcare claims. They want us to have more empathy for this man than they want us to have for the people that are killed because of his company and because of how his company operates. For-profit healthcare kills. We've been trying to tell y'all. The way insurance companies treat patients and the way insurance companies treat doctors is criminal. They are liable for way more deaths than a single gunman. Never, ever, ever forget that.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And don't forget to click the bell so you can be notified for when I post new videos.